This is Cronkite News.
Hospitals running low on ICU beds in Arizona as COVID-19 cases continue to soar.
It's reasonable to think that those high school students, those graduates now, the class of 2020, would try to hold on to what they can control. And that might be going to work or pursuing different options in the future.
Plus, high school graduates feeling uncertain about their futures during the pandemic. And the challenges the Diamondbacks face in returning for a modified season.
Cronkite News starts now.
Welcome to this Cronkite News Update. I'm Abigail Verwick. We have now surpassed 3 million coronavirus cases in the United States and more than 132,000 deaths, averaging about 51,000 new cases a day, triggering a dire situation in hospitals where states are battling surges. At least 7 states reporting record hospitalization numbers, including here in Arizona. Whitney Wild has the latest.
Our medical professionals are already feeling exhausted, asking for reinforcements, and they tell me the worst is yet to come.
ICU beds are running short in Arizona. There's only about 145 free left in the state. In neighboring California,
there's a 44% increase in hospitalizations over the last 2-week period.
The ICU at one Southern California hospital has now hit its capacity.
We're entering a phase in which we're seeing community spread and hospitalizations like we saw in late April.
Across the country in Louisiana,
we've had 3 weeks now of going in the wrong direction with respect to the numbers that we're seeing on cases and hospitalizations.
Florida reporting nearly 10,000 new cases Wednesday. 42 hospitals in the state have no ICU beds free. And Jacksonville, the new site for the Republican National Convention, is now a hotspot.
We're still moving forward with Jacksonville. It'll be a safe event. It will be a good event.
Now, the White House Coronavirus Task Force is urging states with surging cases to pause and roll back to phase 1.
Use the face coverings, not going to bars, not going to indoor dining, but really not gathering in homes either.
And they're now trying to reach Americans on masking up in a new way.
Masks can be a fashion statement.
This morning, the death toll from COVID-19 in Arizona officially passed the 2,000 mark. Health officials reported 75 new fatalities. That brings the total number of confirmed coronavirus cases in our state to over 112,000. Arizona's weekly positive rate for active infections has risen every week since early May.
California, Texas, Florida, Arizona are now experiencing surges of infections that have gone up to 30,000, 40, 50, and most recently, a total of 60,000 new cases per day. We need to get our arms around that, Steve, and we need to do something about it quickly, because if we don't, there's a possibility we may be seeing surges in other areas. So we're in a very difficult, challenging period.
Multiple Valley organizations have teamed up to offer free COVID-19 testing for the underserved community. Cronkite News reporter Madison Atkinson learned more about the testing process.
The Arizona Foundation is extending free drive-through COVID-19 testing 4 more weeks due to the record number of COVID-19 cases in Arizona.
The test is offered at South Mountain Community College Tuesday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
We know there's long lines, but it's pretty much first come, first serve. It's free, and all you need is a valid driver's license to participate.
No previous symptoms are required to be tested. The results could take up to 7 to 10 days. Madison Atkinson, Cronkite News.
The testing is open to all members of the community, and no pre-registration or appointment is necessary. Several business and government organizations work together to extend the free testing. The debate over whether to reopen schools continues in D.C., with Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs spearheading efforts for students to return in the fall. The CDC reportedly won't be changing their guidelines for reopening schools despite pressure from the White House to loosen requirements. In response, Biggs and other members of the House Freedom Caucus held a news conference today calling for CDC guidelines to be revised so in-person classes can resume. The Arizona Education Association released a survey showing 8 in 10 people don't believe schools should open until public health experts sign off on it. A recent survey shows almost half of graduating seniors said their post-graduation plans had changed as a result of COVID-19. Jake Holter finds out more.
With the COVID-19 pandemic upending many facets of life as we knew it, a particularly vulnerable group in all of this is the 2020 graduates. According to a national survey conducted by Junior Achievement, 49% of 2020 high school graduates have changed their graduation plans as a result of the pandemic. Annie Landers is the Senior Director of Junior Achievement of Arizona, a nonprofit that aims to prepare students to succeed in work and life by teaching them real-world skills. She says that with all the uncertainty they face, it is no surprise that so many have changed their plans.
If you think about it, millions and millions of jobs have been lost. And when about a quarter of those high school students that we polled rely on the income from the jobs that they have, it's reasonable to think that they might not go to college immediately. They might need to continue working, and it might be hard for them to imagine the two of those coming together.
In addition to the financial aspect, Landers also says that many are concerned about what their college experience will be in the fall.
About a fourth of them have concerns about how they would pay for it, and also about that experience, the academic quality, but also the experience that they've come to look forward to, the sporting events, or even the dining hall experience. With all of that uncertainty, it's reasonable to think that those high school students, those graduates now, the class of 2020, would try to hold on to what they can control, and that might be going to work or pursuing different options in the future.
Casey Krell just graduated from high school and plans to attend the University of Kansas. She says the pandemic had her confronting big questions like whether or not she should defer her acceptance.
My plans thankfully haven't changed that much because the school will be opening back up, but I can understand how a lot of students across the country have to change their college plans because they may not be able to go to the university, or they may not have the technology at home to do an online format. So I can definitely see how COVID-19 has changed the education field for good.
Krell says that despite the challenges, the class of 2020 will be stronger because of it.
Even though this was an awful experience, I think 2020 will learn and grow from this and have the strength to get through things in the future because we had to deal with the current situation right now.
Jay Coulter, Cronkite News.
Anyone who needs additional assistance during this time can access free resources at jaaz.org/resources. Right now, an excessive heat warning is in effect for the entire Phoenix metro area. It will last through the weekend and into Monday evening. This alert is also in effect for most of southern and western Arizona. Forecasters say over the next few days, we'll be experiencing some of the hottest temps since 2017, with Saturday reaching 117 degrees. Baseball is back. All 30 teams have returned to their ballparks as they wait for the anticipated first game of the season. COVID-19, social distancing, strict safety guidelines, and a 60-game schedule with numerous rule changes will certainly make for a challenging season. Nicholas Barker is in Phoenix with the latest on the Diamondbacks and how they're preparing for this unusual and unpredictable time.
The Arizona Diamondbacks will throw the first pitch of their season at Petco Park, home of the San Diego Padres, on July 24th, one day after the modified MLB season officially opens. In a normal 162-game season, teams can get off to a rough start, recover, hit their stride, and make it into the postseason no problem. That luxury does not exist in a 60-game season.
You got to start playing good baseball from the very beginning, and that's something that I've been stressing to our guys. There's not going to be time to stumble out of the gate, and we gotta get after it from day one.
Diamondbacks shortstop Nick Ahmed compared this shortened season to a college baseball season, which typically includes about the same number of games as this compressed major league campaign.
From a magnitude standpoint, each win or loss could affect the standings that much more quickly. So, like I said, we're not going to change how we prepare, how we play. We're still going to give it everything we got like we always do. It should be fun and exciting.
Obviously, a 60-game season will have challenges, but the biggest challenge this year to overcome will be COVID-19 and how it will affect the team on a day-to-day basis.
The health of the player for me is first and foremost the most important thing, and I think the players realize that too as well. These guys are athletes. They've been that way their whole life. They've trained. They've maintained their good health to be productive in the ways that they have.
You do your best to mitigate the risk the best you can, but there's never going to be, no risk at all.
Another challenge that most players have never experienced before is playing in an empty stadium.
The fans just bring some energy. They bring some excitement to the game. It's going to be weird. We're going to have to get used to it for sure. It will become normal, I guess, after the first week or so, I guess. We can't change it. We can't make anything, we can't make fans appear when they're not really allowed to be here, obviously.
There will be many rule changes this upcoming season. Universal designated hitter, a 3-batter minimum for pitchers, and extra innings that will begin with a runner on second base at the start of each inning.
I support what the league decides to do. They've been so good, and they've been on the cutting edge to preserve this beautiful game of ours in the right places and then to progress it in the right places.
Nicholas Barker, Cronkite News.
Teams are currently practicing at their home fields with just 2 weeks left until the first pitch of the season. As the season inches closer, we might see more players opt out. News of fans being allowed in the stadiums and more updates about guidelines surrounding COVID-19. Here are 3 more sports stories we're tracking today. First up, Ivy League schools canceled fall sports because of coronavirus concerns. The Ivy League becomes the first Division I conference to postpone fall sports, including college football and basketball, until January 1st. In March, the conference was criticized for being the first to cancel its men and women's basketball conference tournaments because of COVID-19, but other major conferences shortly followed suit. The conference said it's canceling fall athletic programs because its highest priority is the safety and the well-being of students. Second, the NFL is continuing conversations on what this season will look like. The NFL Players Association sent a memo to teams highlighting their recommendations moving forward. The memo said the Players Association Board of Representatives voted unanimously to eliminate all preseason games. Representatives from all 32 teams joined a conference call for over 2 hours last week with the NFLPA. The league plans to play 2 of the 4 preseason games to prepare for the season, despite the NFLPA's recommendation. Training camp is still scheduled to resume on July 28th until further notice. And third, some sports teams are taking advantage of empty seats by replacing them with banner advertisements. RJ Orr is among them. He is the executive vice president of Blue Media in Tempe. Orr says the COVID-19 pandemic continues to raise questions about how to physically distance between fans and players and much more.
So with that said, there's been a lot of ideas that have been kicked around, covering seats with a seat covering concept, which we've all seen used throughout.
It's something internationally that happens much more than in the US, but Orr sees turning empty seats into advertising as a temporary solution.
I think if you ended up getting to some type of new normal, just the seating configuration would probably be reimagined. You might even kind of bring club level suites and build bigger in-bowl seating platforms.
Orr says advertising on empty seats would be a big step for major sports teams. And he says advertising like this for sports venues may not ever be done again when spectators return. But it could begin the process of rethinking seating alignments to keep fans safe if the virus continues to spread. That's it for this edition of Cronkite News. For Arizona news updates throughout the day, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.